let's welcome Liza, who is leading in SumUp.
Hi, everyone. Is this working? Yes, cool. Thank you very much. I'm really, really excited about talking about this topic with you folks. I think my idea here was to bring a very concrete example of how we could help scaling your team's impact. I think potentially connected with, I think the last question we got to Chris about in practice, how does this really work? So I hope I can help in that sense. So just a quick intro about me. So I'm Liza. I've been working in product for the last 14 years, originally from Brazil, but the last 6 years I've been living in Copenhagen, working from there. And the last 4 of this time was it has been as a product lead in SumUp. I wonder, sometimes okay, my microphone is working, great. I wonder how many of you know what SumUp is. Can you raise your hand if you do? Okay, great. I live in Denmark, so SumUp's not that known there. Nice to see that in Germany that's a different case. Just very quickly, because it will help a little bit with the context of what this chat is about. SumUp started in 2012 with a very affordable card reader to disrupt the card reader industry, and has evolved into an ecosystem. So now we offer not only the card reader, but also point of sale with our own hardware, business account, booking system, online store, payment links, all sort of things, and also now going into B2C. And the product that I have worked the most in SumUp is Invoices and Accounting. Also a little bit about the numbers. We have around 4 million merchants worldwide, and we are divided into tribes. We are 3,000 employees at the moment, and the reason why I'm bringing the tribes topic here is that it's very fundamental to what I'm going to discuss with you. So I know this is not something new for that SumUp created, but I think the way that we do tribes is very specific. So basically what this means is when you have 3,000 employees, this means that to move things forward might be a bit slower. And the way that SumUp tries to caveat that is dividing us into this smaller groups, smaller business units that actually have a lot of autonomy, a lot of independence to just do their work and decide also how to work together. This means we have our own budget. This means we have our own board meetings with the C-level. And it also means that we can decide what processes we create for ourselves. And that's precisely the one that I want to talk to you about, is the setup that we established in my tribe, which is Invoices tribe, to basically help us face a challenge that we had 3 years ago. So this chat here with you will be about a very concrete example of something that we have tried, and that I believe that if I went to work somewhere else, I would bring that setup with me, and I think can help other companies with similar challenges. So I hope that that's useful to you too. So as I mentioned, 3 years ago in my tribe, we had a problem. We had 3 teams and a bunch of challenges. This tribe was coming from an acquired company. And because of that, we had basically to rebuild this acquired product, which was Invoices and Accounting, into SumUp's ecosystem. So that by itself was already a big challenge. At the same time, of course, we had to keep the current product running to safeguard the revenue that we had. That was basically what was paying our salaries. So we had this 2 scenarios that was happening at the same time. And of course, we had huge amounts of tech debt. So with this, especially this startup that had just been acquired, they were a small company, and their main goal, of course, was not to modernize their tech. They were just trying to stay afloat until they were acquired. So we had a lot going on with a relatively small team to solve them. Together with this, or because of this, we had bugs. We had bugs everywhere. The merchant would reach out to support, and somehow these topics would end up with the squads. So developers were being contacted by support something like once a day, at least. If they weren't, then these bugs were created in Jira. The Jira ticket might get lost. If it's an urgent topic, then we might not even hear about it. And many of these topics were also deflected bugs. So not really bugs. Support maybe thought it was a bug. And then maybe this developer, there's always this one person that really cares, and then support always reaches out to them, and they stop what they're doing and go look into that ticket. And then they would spend all this time to fix something that wasn't even a bug in the first place. So I remember one chat I had with a product manager in my team discussing how can we move things forward, go faster to deliver value. And then what he came to me and said, yes, I agree, we have to go faster, but right now my team is being distracted by all these bugs coming our way. Many times they're not even bugs, we can't even fix this. It's just a lot of time being wasted. So basically, I was giving this problem to him, and he was basically giving it back to me, how do we solve this together? And that's when, so pretty chaotic situation that we were in. And then the solution that we came up with was to come up with some kind of what I'm calling here a QA-ish, or some companies might call it a second level support. So basically, this person that we decided to at some point call it a product specialist, to basically shield the team before the bugs reach the team. When we were wondering who could do this work for us, it was very clear that this person should come from support. We had some really senior customer support agents that had been in this acquired company for many years. And then we looked for someone who had a great eye for detail, maybe interested in engineering tools, a bit more tech savvy. And then we started this as a part-time role. This was a chance for this person to learn something new, try something different. And we also felt like because it was a part-time thing, we didn't have to look for the budget, which many times might just park that idea, right? It was too soon for us to actually do that. So okay, let's just try this out and see how it goes. And basically, this was the scope of what he was doing. So he was troubleshooting the issues that came his way. He would enrich the ticket with more details of what he could find. He would look into error logs. So, for example, he was trained by the engineering team to use Grafana to understand the impact. Is this just one merchant, a bunch of merchants? And then, let's say he would already filter out all the things that were not really bugs or couldn't be reproduced. And if it was an actual bug, when he passed it to the team and we decided to prioritize it, the ticket was so much more enriched with details, right? So the developer also spent less time understanding what the issue was about. Here, I would like to point out something that I think was quite special. And if there's one takeaway from this talk, this is maybe what I would like to bring the most, which was how special it was, the fact that this person came from support. I thought about different titles for this talk along the last couple of months, and one of them was the untapped potential of customer support. I really do believe that these people know so much about their product, our product, the user. We can leverage them so much more than what we usually do. So here, I just wanted to point out that because he was coming from customer support, he had great knowledge about the product, so he can distinguish very easily the bug from a correct behavior. I'm comparing here, let's say we could have decided to hire QA, right? Quality assurance, manual QA. This person already had a lot of knowledge about the product. And also, he knew the support team so well. He could train the agents to troubleshoot simple things before passing the ticket to him. And also, because he was part of the team before, he could very organically communicate to them and train them into what the new changes in the product were about. So that worked really, really well. To the point that we could very easily see the numbers. So here you can see a chart from the last 3 years. We had fewer bugs, both real bugs and deflected bugs. Deflected bugs, of course, because now he was training the support team, and then less of these things were coming our way. Also, fewer real bugs. I think a part of this was because we had probably a lot of duplicated things going on. So the same bug was being created multiple times and maybe even looked into multiple times. And we estimate something like 1,700 engineers' hours saved in these last three years. That's almost 1 year of an engineering work that was saved because of this. Then when we got this really cool result, right, let's say maybe 3 months afterwards, we decided to expand the scope, expand the impact of Alex, this person that we got to do this. So basically what we realized is we didn't we could also leverage this role to not only shield the team, but actually enable the team. So also on things like merchant feedback insights, contacting merchants, and regulatory research. And I'll go through each of these three with you now. So merchant feedback, of course, this was a very obvious one for us because when you start getting information from support, sometimes it's a bug, sometimes it's a feedback. So what is even each of them, right? Many times it might even be a bit blurry, the difference between these two. So this was a very organic thing that he also started to look into with us. So this is a part of the work that maybe has evolved the most, changed the most since we started. Again, we started this role 3 years ago. And of course, now we have AI to help us do some of these things. But basically, the work here is to look into all the feedback sources that we have. This can be things like support cases, of course, but also ongoing service that we have. We have a subscription, so the cancellation flow, what people say when they cancel, reviews, right, like Trustpilot reviews, App Store reviews. And then he basically shares back with product, with design, with marketing once a month. He also does some kind of like documentation, so we can also just check ourselves, but we realized that over time, it just made a lot of sense to actually have one meeting that we all get together and we discuss this together and already decide a bit of what are the things that we are worth pursuing right away, looking into, or the ones that we decide to leave for later. Again, CS skills, right? Great knowledge about our users' needs, user struggles, knows the customer support team really well, so he can also follow up questions. He knows the tools really well. So let's say Salesforce, that's the tool that we use in SumUp. Not that easy if you haven't worked in support to really use Salesforce well. So he has already done this before. He can go there, look into the tickets, look into all the threads of discussion, and come back with some bit more detail of what that feedback is about. Something that I wanted to bring in, of course, as I said, that this role has changed and we have been using more and more AI. And just, again, go very concrete into how do we use AI, just so we're not speaking so generically about it. So here I bring two options for you. Option one, if you only have more of a general AI tool, I'm talking here about ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. So my intake on this, that if you have access to Claude, I would start there. From my experience and what I've heard from colleagues also, that's usually the one that brings more better data analysis. That's what we use. And the idea here is that you can do both. Upload CSV, so if you're able to download all this content, right, the ongoing surveys, the cancellation reasons, again, bringing very concrete examples of what we do here. Or, for example, just gathering feedback in a public space. So Trustpilot reviews, you basically have the URL, put it there, and give a specific prompt. This, again, very concrete, a prompt that we actually use, and ask for verbatims to double check if that information is actually true, and in bullet points to make it easier to scan. This is one thing that we do, and that I recommend you doing it as well, with a person or by yourself. Option B that we were mentioned now in the keynote, right, is the agentic workflow tool. So this is if you're really, really lucky and you have access to something like Dust or LangDoc or Reforge Insights. This means you can basically integrate with the other tools that you use in your company. That could be Zendesk, Snowflake, Jira, Slack. Let's say we also get a lot of feedback from sales on Slack, right? You could also just integrate with Slack and get the information from there. So this is another option. I want to be very real here and say that we're still in the journey of this. We still use much more option A than option B right now in my tribe in SumUp. But this is, I think, the most obvious way to go, that you don't have to actually upload a file every month, but to just have continuous data from this tool. I have looked into Reforge Insight just as a demo, and I was quite impressed with what they do. So if you're able to get a tool like that, I think that would already be very, very helpful and save you a lot of time. Some potential pitfalls of this, actually integrating all this the data into the AI tool. So yeah, scanning Trustpilot reviews is easy, but what about your support tickets in Salesforce? This is a bit the moment that we're in right now, trying to make those integrations happen. assume the tool will do everything. I think this is something that we also heard in the keynote, right? You have to actually review that content. You can just assume it's perfect. So definitely ask for those verbatims and see if people actually said that thing that the AI tool is telling you that they did. And of course, an issue here if you just use ChatGPT with your own account and add company confidential data. So I would say if you're not able to get an AI tool in your company in a compliant way, at least try to maybe blur the company name and try to take confidential information out. But yeah, that can be a bit tricky. And I personally don't have that much experience with it because in SumUp, we have been quite excited about AI tools. So we have some of those to use ourselves. So when we figured out, troubleshooting the bugs that worked really well. We looked into merchant feedback. That was working really well for us as well. Then there were other things that Alex started helping us with, and I tried to categorize them in a way to bring you here. And one of them is contacting merchants. So again, because of his support skills, he was used to contacting merchants every day or being contacted and talking to merchants every day. So there are a couple of situations or a couple of use cases that I think having his help really supported us in our journey, especially discovery journey. So one is if we get feedback from a merchant about a feature, and it's not necessarily a priority that we have at the moment, then we have this person that can still contact the merchant and ask for more information about it. Of course, as product managers or designers, if you really already have the time yourself, amazing, go and do that. But having that person that can help you spread your impact, right? Spread your look into all the everything that we could be doing, that has been really helpful for us. And he does that. And something else that Alex has helped us with is, for example, we're working on a feature that it's a proof of concept. We're not sure if we should build it. And there's a big part of that is quite manual. So we haven't actually built it. And so some of that we have to speak with the user on the phone and explain how it works. And he has been helping us with that as well. Again, if you have the time to do that, then awesome. But in this case of this feature, it's quite a volume game. So it's explaining this to a lot of users and understanding and making them understand how it works and if they would like to be part of that alpha test. So he has definitely helped us with that. Maybe obvious, but making it clear that, of course, it doesn't really qualify as an user interview unless this person gets really trained into that. But it helped us move faster and get more volume and test and talk to users more. And then the last thing that Alex has helped us with is on regulatory research. So I work with invoices and accounting. That's a very regulated market. Things change all the time. Now electronic invoicing has become a big thing here in Europe. And we have to be informed and updated on what is changing. So he also supports us in that, being informed by those things. Again, support skills he already gets, frequently asked questions or feedback about, hey, aren't you going to add that new VAT rate in Sweden for food? I'm like, oh, okay, really? So we already get a lot of that feedback from the users, and then he goes and looks into deeper and also just does research by himself. The other thing is to explore potential market expansion. So let's say we don't have invoicing in Bulgaria, even though SumUp is there. Should we do that? What is really needed? What are the regulation needed there? Is it easy for us to do it? So he does the preliminary work of actually checking that for us. So that's the scope that we have now with Alex that has worked really, really well for us. I want to address one potential elephant in the room about could AI completely replace this role? So you might be looking at me say all these things and be like, okay, whatever, if you have AI, would you even need someone to do that work? So for me, from my experience, I think AI definitely supports this role, but couldn't yet automate it completely. I think then it depends a bit, of course, every company is unique, but like if you already have a manual QA in your team, they can actually look into all these bugs that I just mentioned for you, and maybe then you also have access to an amazing AI tool for merchant feedback, then yeah, potentially, yes. Maybe you don't need someone like that, but that hasn't been our case, and I haven't seen anything like that myself. So at least for now, I feel like that's not the case, at least for us. Okay, and then I wanted to wrap up with the biggest learnings that we have had during this journey. As I mentioned, the bug troubleshooting had immediate impact. I think clearly it paid itself. I remember having a chat with my manager at some point, and he asked me like, "Do we really like? Is it really needed in the beginning?" And I said, "Definitely. One, because it saves a lot of time from the developers, and also there's a morale thing here that usually developers hate looking into bugs or troubleshooting bugs before they even know if it's an actual bug. So I would definitely, for me, this is a role that is very well paid. That the ticket gets looked into before an engineer. I think that's cheaper and probably keeps morale up. Second thing, bringing someone from the inside made all the difference. Support really relied and trusted this role. Alex also, like half of the week, he would actually sit with the support team. So keep that relationship going with them. That was very important. AI can automate parts of the work, definitely, but for us, it had not worked yet as a magic wand. And the last one is that also something that we have learned along the way is just not only to have this person, this role, just bringing, let's say, once a month, this report for us to read or have this meeting, but actually bringing him into more day-to-days of the team. So let's say in sprint planning or design review, he has all this knowledge, right? He has been looking into what our merchants are talking about and complaining. So bringing him into those rituals with the team has been very helpful for us, and I would definitely recommend it. That's it. Thank you. I leave one tip only about a course that I took earlier this year called Mastering AI Productivity with Sachin and Reforge. This was so amazing. The name of the course is a bit generic, but it's very, very tailored for product managers and product leaders about how to use AI on strategy, consumer insights. Very nice. So I'll leave that tip to you too.
Thank you, Liza. Questions? Yeah.
There was some. Yeah.
Thank you for the talk. Clearly, this role really was very impactful in your organization. I'm wondering, how do you think about the introduction of this new role versus upskilling your support team so they can actually do proper triage and not throw bugs over the fence without verifying them? Like, because this role basically plug
Yeah.
that gap, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can also achieve the same outcome with training your product teams. So,
Yeah.
sorry, training your support team. So I'm wondering how you're thinking about that.
Yeah, definitely. Really good question. So we did both, I would say. And I wouldn't say that it completely replaces his role because there's a certain point of troubleshooting that you can do before passing the team. Like they still have a lot of tickets on their way. They still have the chat messenger and people reaching out. They can just say, let me just check this in Grafana and see how many error logs we have for this. So definitely we had and we did train the team to be better and not just pass on things to the other side of the fence. But there was a big part of this piece that just required more time. So unless we just wanted to really slow down the support team and really also train all of them much deeper, then it didn't make that much sense. So I think it's just hard to scale if you just have them trained more. That has been our experience.
Thanks for giving us, I think, a concrete example of developing a voice of the customer system, and maybe Alex is a customer experience specialist. Can you give us an idea of the ratio of how many product team one Alex can support?
Yeah.
How many Alex we need to hire? Or like, what's the-
Yeah, definitely. I think that's maybe the piece that has that again it has changed the most with the help of AI because in the beginning he was doing so many things manually. What we have was it was 3 teams for one Alex, but I would say that now he could do more teams with one Alex. That's what we are looking into right now to do. How many teams for Alex?
Thank you. That's a very that's an amazing success story with customer success. CS. Since you mentioned sales,
Mm-hmm.
anything along the similar lines, but collaborating with sales teams. This is a topic that is very close to my heart, and I'm looking for Any tips?
Yeah, great. So interestingly, I mean, SumUp, there's a whole ecosystem and products that work very differently. So the one that I had been working until very recently is Invoices, and that was more of a self-serve kind of product. So sales was not really there. We didn't have sales team going trying to sell Invoices software to someone. But now I'm part of the point of sale tribe, and then now sales come along. Um, from a SumUp side, I'd say we haven't really figured that out. But what I think I would do is try to provide a really easy way for sales to provide feedback. And then Alex, or whoever, would be the person that actually filters that out. I have seen actually, I remember that in SumUp in Brazil, they did something that I thought was very smart. Very Brazilian, being Brazilian, that you just find a way with like very few resources to solve your problem, which is they created Google form, and then they have field sales. So they're not even necessarily in Brazil employed by SumUp. So a Google form, everyone has the link, they have it on their phone. And then when they go visit a merchant to try to sell them something or to upsell them something, and they face an issue or a feedback or something they were not able to sell, they would just fill this out, the Google form, when they could. And then there was someone from the SumUp side that would actually look into and triage it. So if there was a bug, then someone right away would like call this merchant, try to solve it. Or if it was just feedback, then they would collect it and then again share in a better way. So that's the way that I would go. I think a more complex way would be like give them access to Salesforce, blah blah blah. But I think a Google form solved it so well for them. Yeah.
Uh, First of all, thank you so much for sharing this. I totally understand how this would work for you. Coming from a personal experience, I think like in product, I've always used customer supports and sites, and I've always find them very useful. However, I have two questions here. The first one is knowing that a customer support role usually has different goals than a product person would do. That could be like a number of tickets closed or how fast the tickets are closed and so on. How would you think the goals here would be and how it affects the prioritization of tackling one bug and not the other? This is the first question. And the second question, so this would work so well in a context of troubleshooting and also in the context of what you shared. But do you think the same would work if we're talking about feature adoption or discovery of something new, or like deciding on taking on like a trending thing and seeing or testing or experimenting if it would work on customers or not, based on customers will tell you what they want but they will not tell you what they need, and customer support usually takes what the customer actually want and maybe not what they need. So would that also work in in a different context than troubleshooting, like this specific role?
Yeah. Okay, great. So your first question was about how do we compete with this, like going very deep into a ticket versus like the velocity. I completely agree, and that's why for the first question I said that I don't think we can just not have Alex and just really train the support team, because they do have metrics related to speed and how many tickets they solve, and that's why I really like this idea of having this in between person that who have all the knowledge from support, really close contact, who might even sit with support half of the week, but he does not have the same metrics for his own performance as support. So for me, that was very key. Your other question was about the discovery and how to use him for. Okay, I know.
The context of troubleshooting,
Yes.
this role would make so much sense, but in the sense of not troubleshooting, but actually like
Yes.
just building new products, new features, and so on.
Okay. So for what I mentioned about the contacting the merchants or the regulatory research, this is always based on what we product and designers would ask their help. So it's like, this makes a lot of sense that we go deeper. Can you go and look into it? And then he does that. So usually comes from us and give that direction to him. But about the merchant feedback, I do think that that's a point, and maybe that I could have put it as a learning actually, that in the beginning, the way that and this is a bit of the switch that we're trying to do now, we were using intercom, And Intercom has this great feature that you can just highlight the support ticket and say, like, this is feedback. So support would always highlight, and that's what he was looking into in the beginning, highlighting what the feedback was, and then by the end of the support teams, and then by the end of the month, Alex would gather everything and say, see, this was the feedback. But of course, this means that the support team has to understand what a feedback is, and I could see some challenges in that. That's just, I think, just a bit too hard. I remember at some point in one of these meetings that we discussed the feedback, then we also had the support lead coming, and then she mentioned something like a problem that merchants had, and I said, but I never seen any feedback about this. And then she said, yeah, because we know it cannot be solved. So like they were not bringing it up because for them it couldn't be solved. So why would you bring it up, right? So stuff like that. So now this is also why I think AI will be so helpful, because now the idea would be that we're not just looking into content that is tagged by support, but actually just looking into everything and using AI to summarize it, so we don't have that filter from support of what is feedback. But I don't think it would replace discovery in any way. It's more helping us to scale, right? That capability. Great.
Maybe one question I have,
Yes.
because usually Alex role
Yeah.
in some companies are luxury to have.
Mhm.
So if I want to scale a team, do I need to hire a product manager or I hire Alex?
Mhm, mhm.
Some tricks happen that we started to call Alex product operation
Yeah.
under the hood. So we put Alex under the hood.
That's funny because at some point we actually did start calling him product operations.
Yes, because when you say customer support success, oh my
Yeah.
God, this is very luxury, right?
Yeah,
Should I
yeah.
hire that or who? The second one is, I think Alex success has to happen from understanding the roadmap and strategy. Is that correct? You need to be Alex has to be very into the roadmap and strategy, so he can decide and answer the question that have been asked.
Mhm.
Is this real customer what he wants? Does it match my product manager work or not?
I would hope and expect that everyone understands the strategy enough so they can help, but I wouldn't see that as a prerequisite actually for the role, in the sense of he's bringing the feedback, and then we are the ones responsible for understanding, does this make sense for a strategy? Do we want to pursue this? Do we want to pursue that? I would say
Unbiased. So he's bringing all the feedback he's getting.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, of course, if he can also already bring with some understanding and insight, like this seems important, which he does, then great. But I don't see it as a prerequisite for him doing a really good job. Answering your question about the budget, which I think is a very, very fair question. Of course, it is someone, and you have to pay them, so there is a cost involved, definitely. But I would compare, let's say, with the QA, right? With the junior engineer, or maybe one more support person. Usually support agents are the cheapest person in the company. So I would say, or would you be able to hire one more support agent? And maybe not, and it's a startup, so every penny counts. But if you were a bit of a bigger company, maybe one more support agent wouldn't be that much more money. And that's where I would, that's one of the things, honestly, that I think is special about this role, that you can upscale someone that is not that expensive, and also just offer something else for them to do, and they will be sometimes really happy to just try something else. So I think it's also a career path for customer support.
Thank you. Any question? Oh, you have one? Yes. You have one question? And then? Yeah.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much. It was very interesting. I have actually one question. You had a situation with many bugs and reports and many noise for the team.
Mhm.
So that's why the solution was to introduce a new role, which actually, from my point of view, might be a good temporary solution. But as a long-term solution, I guess it won't work, because as your problems get bigger, then more roles you need to hire or more roles you need to introduce. So this is not sustainable. And at the same time, I mean, the title of the talk is Scaling Your Team's Impact.
Mhm.
I want to know, were you in the end able to really scale your team's impact, meaning by reducing the noise? Was your team able to really focus on the actual job better? And in the end, I expect the number of bugs to reduce.
Mhm.
Means that, okay, yeah, the impact has really increased for the team. So that's what I want to ask. Were you also monitoring the number of the bugs and reports Alex was receiving? You know, some part of Alex's job, from my point of view, is also product manager's job. So I want to know, how are you handling this, and if you're monitoring, and if do you see this role to be permanent or temporarily?
Yeah, we were definitely looking into the numbers. I have a slide at some point here that can show the decrease of bugs over time, and we estimate something like almost 42 weeks of an engineer were saved because of this in 3 years. So that definitely we're looking into. The other stuff I mentioned here about like merchant feedback, the regulatory research, and contacting the merchants, I didn't bring data because I think as product people, we know it's just sometimes just hard to come up with numbers for this kind of thing, right? It just made our jobs easier and faster and better, but hard to put a number on that. Yeah, so I think, and then your other question was if I see it as a permanent role. Yes, I do. What I do see it is that he would be able to just do more with his time because we have really good processes, really good tools. AI can help. So more and more. Also, of course, when you look into the bugs, this also gave us a nudge to do more automated testing. So we didn't have even those bugs, right? So you can do other things, and you should do other things on the side. But I don't see that role being vanished from the way that we work at the moment.
Okay. No more questions.
One more.
You see? Yeah.
Thank you, Liza, for presenting all of that. It's really highly appreciated because I have the same problem, and I know what does it mean invoicing. So whoever would deal with e-invoicing in the future, please, good luck.
Yeah.
So what I'm curious about, and we can call this product operation specialist. I think this role was invited in Stripe in 2012, but they are scaled this to, I think someone asked to sales, and they eventually solves the problem of each team has stream of OKRs, and nobody like merge these OKRs, and nobody like creates some kind of mutual, because at the end of the day, marketing says we generate for you 10,000 leads, but only 2 converted, and but they are really connecting the dots. So it's the first question. So just look about how Stripe describes this role, and you will really be inspired and motivated and find more evidence for your leadership to hire such things. So first question, like how you help him to onboard, because yes, it is quite hard, especially in accounting invoicing, to learn the product. So in that case, product has to invest into this. So it's impossible to go into bugs and all of that. And the second question was how he can bring these topics on a table, and you will scale to your organization on a KR level initiative, whatever you are using, because sometimes these bugs, it's just not bugs, it's just system components that need to be refactored, reorganized, where need legal and the whole company needs to be involved in order to change this and make it, or it just become a service request that you have to perform. So again, like onboarding and how to bring this on table to scale this to occur and make sure that product team will make it, because you can ignore simply Alex.
Yeah. Okay. Answering your question on the onboarding, that's again for me one of the beauty of bringing someone from support. So the onboarding of the product, there was no onboarding. He already had because he was already for the last 3 years working on support to answer questions about the product with the customer, which is, I mean, if you have done it, I hope you have done this yourself, it's the hardest job ever, because many times you have to understand the product so deeply, and also in this case invoicing and accounting with quite a good amount of knowledge, because when the user comes to use a contact us, they won't explain their issue very deeply. It's very different from a user interview that we can also always ask follow-up questions. In a support ticket, they might not. So he was already, I would say, really, really great understanding the product and invoices and accounting. That also comes from, of course, his manager, the support lead, that hired really good people that also, in this case, did have knowledge on bookkeeping before coming to the team. So that knowledge he already had. But again, that's why I'm really vouch for bringing these people. So product operations, bring them from support. There are really great people there that can help you with, instead of maybe looking for them in the market. If that's the piece that you're that you want to look into, customer insights, I think that can be a great place to look. And your other question?
Yeah, how to actually make these artifacts?
Yes. Okay, so I think a big learning for us was to actually have a meeting to discuss these things, because sometimes you would come up with all these insights, would create a documentation, and then first you leave it for later, you might not even read, which is then even worse. But even if you do, like, well, I need to ask this follow-up question, or yes, this is very complex, should we even look into? So having this one meeting a month that we discuss all these issues and decide right there if it's worth pursuing, or at least looking into this a little bit more broadly. Already asking follow-up questions to Alice, can you look into how many people actually do have this issue? This would already help us figure out if we should open this door and start this bigger discussion.
And in this meeting, so who was like facilitating this meeting? You were like as a group PM of this stream, or it was just a product managers?
So me as the leader of the product managers, the product managers, designers, marketing, and support lead.
Okay, thank you. Really appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you, Liza. And we have a gift from Product Lab and also from Florian for the power of analytics. We need to give you one, and we will send one. We'll ask Florian to send another one for Alex.
Yes, please
Okay.
do.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
very
a lot.
much.
Thank you.